Today, I'm here with Alabama Wrestling Forum's Jaxon Bast. Hey, Jaxon, how are things up in your neck of the woods?
Everything's going well right now. School's going well. I know the team's getting ready for conference this week,
Yeah,
so good luck to those guys.
yeah. Is it cold up there? Because it's actually quite nice down here in the south.
Yeah, I was down in Alabama this past weekend, and I stayed an extra night because there's supposed to be a really bad storm in Bluefield. So I'm glad I did because I heard the conditions up here were horrendous.
You're selling it, man. So you were at sectionals down there recruiting for Bluefield. Is that
Yeah. I went down there. We had some guys that we've been looking at over the course of the season. I went down there, checked them out. All the guys looked pretty well. The bulk of the tournament. I split days. I did one day in the south and one day in the north, so I got to see a little bit of everybody.
got it? Wow, that's awesome. I mean, it's nice that they put all the classifications together and then they're not really all that far apart. So you can't go between the two. So that's got to be cool from a a media perspective, also from a recruiting perspective, because you get to see both, 8 tournaments going on. So
Yeah.
all right. So for those that don't know, we are going to break down each of the brackets in all 4 classifications. This is an intro that will go on the front of all 4 of the classifications. So in this intro, Jaxon, I think the thing that I want to ask you just as the basic overall is, we're all going to be in the Von Braun Center together, watching the action and everything else. Sure, you're focused on, say, 1A, 4A, and maybe Weaver or this weight class or whatever, but there's a lot happening. So can you give me 3 big things that kind of happening, in the Von Braun Center that you might be watching?
Yeah, I mean, it's to the fan. I would say that there are a couple of things that I'd be looking out for. Obviously, I'm pretty 7A heavy, but a kid who's actually been on quite a tear, and he goes to my high school. Will Conlon has been on an extreme tear this entire season. I think he's the only kid to beat Hunter Jones in state. He just pinned Jack Lamy in the sectional finals, so he's been taking it to it. And then there's some wrestlers out there like Jonathan Foster from Dora, 1 through 4A. He is such an explosive wrestler. It's honestly so much fun to watch him because he'll body lock him, and then it's guys' feet are up in the air. It's absolutely insane watching somebody like him wrestle. And then there are a couple other storylines you need to keep me out there. I know there are a couple people trying to repeat. Seniors going after their title in the last year. I think it's oh gosh, I think it's 152 is Brady Godwin and Josh Rowe. I think they're 2 seniors in 5A, so it's the smallest division, and they're both going after their first title. Josh has seen the state finals before, but it's Godwin's first time, and he just won the sectional tournament hot off of that, so he's full steam ahead.
So I loved how you threw out a few names and they kind of went all of the classifications, even though, like you said, you are 7A heavy. Is there a thing as far as the team races go in terms of what we might be paying attention to? I know Huntsville won duels in 7A, whether they're going to take that in 7A and traditional. Mountain Brook, same thing in 6A, so on and so forth.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, my favorite one to watch the team race easily is 6A. I think Mortimer Jordan's probably the heavy favorites going in. Came into sectionals, took care of business, didn't score all the points they probably thought they could score when it came down to the team race. But I mean, they still went out there and they wrestled tough and came home with the sectional title. I will be interested to see if Huntsville can actually push it all the way through. They were the heavy favorites for me going into sectionals. And they lost a couple matches that you could see going either way. And I think that's what it came down to is other teams just had better rounds. And like there were some matches like dang, I just lost his name. Bradley Williams versus Jake Ciccolello, which was a 13-11 match, and it was very much boom, 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 boom. It was an amazing match to watch. 160 with McKinney. He was the 1 seed. Harris Mitchell got some matches back, and he ended up finishing first. So there are some points that you figure they'd be able to have, but maybe it's just not that day. So I'll be interested to see how Huntsville adjusts going into this weekend.
All right. So the last thing I want to bring up is seeding. Alabama is one of the few states that actually seed their state tournament, seed their sectional tournament, and everything else. And for the most part, I think when the seeding is right, it really works well, and they do a pretty good job. The seeds last year in some of the weight classes were really quite good, and we saw a lot of 1 versus 2 matchups. Because the whole point of seeding is to put the two best opposite one another, and then having 3 and 4 separated. So we see those in the semis and so on and so forth. But I don't know if you noticed this, but there are some weird seeds in some of the classifications. And I'm going to give you just one example. In 7A, at I think it's 126 pounds, 138 pounds, and 285 pounds. Doesn't have anything to do with the number 1 seed or number 2 seeds or anything like that. But the guys who took second in the sectionals in the South, they're 8 seeds. They're the number 8 seed. They're even behind guys that they lost to or that they beat last weekend in sectionals. So that's crazy to me. I don't understand how you can, if you finish second at sectionals, I don't understand how you can not be at lowest the 6 seed, not the 8 seed.
Yeah, no, there were a couple of ones that were pretty puzzling to me, and I don't know if you can go and argue. And I'm sure that if it was literally just head-to-head matchups that the system missed for one reason or another, they might adjust. But I would definitely say that, we knew this was kind of the backside of separating the North and the South even more. Those Southern places, they end up wrestling the people who are around their area, and those guys aren't necessarily considered some of the high caliber wrestlers like there are in Birmingham. So when you it costs money to travel from like Foley, Alabama, all the way up to Birmingham. So, and it might not be worth that much when you're not thinking, oh, if I still win a sectional tournament, I'm going to get the 8 seed. That's not in your head what's going to happen.
Yeah, no, I totally get that part of it. And I get, even 1, 2, 3, and 4 from the North being the top 4 seeds, and then number 1 from the South is like we see in, I think, 7A 106, where the number 1 from the South is the number 5 seed. The thing I don't get is how in the world a kid who beat a kid last weekend ends up as a lower seed. That's the part I don't get.
I've seen it happen once or twice where they didn't fix it. I think it was like 2020 7A 160. There was this guy who beat a guy, but they ended up, it was kind of weird. Like he should have been above. He beat the guy who was the 3 seed and he was the 6 seed. So they ended up being in the same spot and they had to wrestle each other anyway, but they didn't adjust it because of some like seating hopping, I think. I'm not too sure. But no, honestly, it really did make me, it kind of took me for a loop when they saw some of those people who had beaten people in the previous weekend.
Yeah.
Or even if they outplaced them, like that still surprised me that they're still where they're at.
Yeah, no doubt. All right. I don't want to belabor the seeding and all that. So for those of you who are here for you're here for one of the different ones, because I'm going to cut this up into 4 different ones. We're now going to transition to one of those classifications. Stay with us as we break down all the brackets, all 14, and talk about the team race. And we are talking 5A and a different size bracket than what we get in the other classifications. Is that a big deal? Like, I mean, it's just one more match and it's only for like half of the participants. So in 5A, 8, I mean, we've seen an 8-man bracket in 7A for a long time.
Yeah. And I'll be honest. One thing I kind of did not like. I understand it was for the process of how they could function and get everybody done in one weekend with there being 4 divisions, but I didn't like how they pretty much condensed the 3 divisions into one day, and then they had like the finals in the morning, and they put 5A literally in like half a day. And it definitely, like I read something somewhere that you could tell that the atmosphere wasn't the same because it didn't feel like 5A got involved. They kind of
You're talking about it sectionals?
Yeah, it's sectionals.
Yeah.
And this was in the North and the South. I was in the North when I was there for a little bit watching 5A. But yeah, I don't. This is, like I said, it's not a knock on anybody. I'm pretty sure this was kind of a trial run to see how it ended up working. But I wasn't a big fan of how they split it up with putting 5A where they did. But honestly, and I hated that because 5A is packed full of quality teams, like really, really good teams that you saw in 6A or in 4A, kind of into 5A, and they're big, big teams in 5, 6A. So,
Yeah.
I'm glad that it all kind of hit where it did.
Well, I'm just gonna cue everyone that I pulled down the seeds a little bit before Jackson. I don't know if you actually are pulling up live at the moment.
I am.
All right. So if we're different, that's kind of where that comes from. We're also going to probably talk. Maybe I don't know that it happens in 5A as much as it did in 1A, 4A. But if it does, we'll talk a little bit about some of the things that kind of are head scratchers. So, all right. So let's jump into 106 pounds and your number one seed, Colby Silva, who, I mean, let's be honest, he looked fantastic. 2 seed is Rutland Phillips. Harley Briscoe, who I think is very good, but Colby Silva, man, he was awesome.
Colby Silva walked this weekend, and he had a plan, and he executed it. I'll tell you that. I'm trying to do the math real quick in my head. He was only on the mat for 59 seconds going into the sectional finals, and then he teched Briscoe in the finals. I know,
like 15-0, right? Like, didn't he just hammer him?
Like I said, I think it's pretty safe to say, without us clicking on the bout cards, that no points were scored on Silva this weekend.
Wow. Yeah. All right. So is he your favorite? Is he your pick?
So Silva's my favorite. Rutland Phillips wrestled him earlier this season, got pinned in a little over 2.5 minutes. But I kind of see the young Arab Knight walking through the tournament.
All right, so let's jump to 113, and you mentioned it right at the beginning of this, and that is there are some really, really talented wrestlers in 5A, and we start right there with Stone Staten of Scottsboro, who I've seen Scottsboro wrestle lots of different people, big classifications, so on and so forth. Stone is a hammer. He is your 1 seed. Mason Nelson's your 2 seed. Caden Holloway, a Beauregard, is your 3 seed. But tell me a little bit about 113.
I mean, you said it perfectly. The son of a very legendary Coach Staten over at the Scottsboro Wildcats. I mean, you can tell he was a little undersized last year for 106, but now up at 113, doing really good. I was a little surprised they seeded Jacob Coulter a little low at sectionals, but he proved everybody wrong. He came back and got third after being the 8th seed. Staten looked really good. It was a Jasper Scottsboro sectional final, and then in the South, Nelson walked through the tournament, pinning everybody on his way through. So I probably still have Staten as my favorite. And yeah, I mean, I'll say that I could see Kohler maybe breaking through just because it's Arab. Arab scores big when it comes to the important matches. So,
well, and they're gonna need some of that. I mean, it's we'll talk about the team race at the end, but if they can get some points from somebody who is a little further down, that only helps them as in their run to a title. All right, so jump into 120. A good weight. I actually like this weight a lot. Preston Jones is your 1 seed. He is unbeaten on the year. He won the North over Clark of Moody, who is the 2 seed. Nick Sykes is your 3 seed. He won the South. Kind of it feels like he gets a little slighted because he's in the South, because Sykes is tough. But you go further down, Jaxon Ivy, Guthrie. This is a good weight, but Preston Jones, I think, is your number 1 seed.
No, I think Preston Jones really, really wrestled well this weekend. Honestly, I don't know if you got to see that matchup between Clark and Jones, but man, it was tight. And then at the very end, you see Clark shoot this double on Jones. Jones picks it up a little bit, sticks his foot out. Arias flips over. He catches him, sticks him. There was very little time on the mat after that happened.
Wow.
So
I didn't actually see it. I'll have to go back and watch it. So
it was very quick. I mean, honestly, the ref was on the mat looking as soon as Clark hit the mat, and it was honestly kind of a crazy thing to watch. I am surprised, like we said, that they have Sykes as low as he is. I think a little bit has to do with Clark being returning state. I think he got third or fourth last year, if I'm not mistaken.
I can look it up. Go ahead. Yeah.
And then yes. And then
he was fourth. He was fourth last year.
Fourth last year. And then Arab, Ivy, and then transfer from Shades Valley, Donnell Young. Honestly, like you said, it's probably one of the tough, if not the toughest weight in 5A.
Yeah, it's a good weight. And for those of you sitting in the stands who are just kicking back watching, this will be a weight where not to say somebody won't blow somebody out in the first round, but this could be like some of those 7A matches from years past where you have an 8-man bracket and it's pretty deep and there's some good matches right from the very beginning. So, all right. So jumping to 126, one of my favorite wrestlers to watch in 5A. I watched him compete up at the Michigan Grappler, the Grappler Fall Classic. He's a Team Minions kid up in Tennessee, goes up there and wrestles with them a lot. And that's John Stewart of Scottsboro. He's your 1 seed. Antonio Nash of Jasper's your 2 seed. And then you've got, Dathan Budd, Jay Zito, a few others. But I watched John Stewart wrestle like some of the best from around the country as a freshman before his freshman year. Yeah, this freshman year. So, I mean, we're talking about superb.
Yeah, I think it's one of those weights where I don't see somebody really touching him. I think, I honestly I think it is that is like he is a freshman, but he's been insane since his 7th grade year. He lost a really close match in the semis that year. Won state last year, and he's just been on a tear ever since.
Yeah. All right, jumping to 132. Ethan Caldwell of Jasper is your 1 seed. Land Bell of Tallahassee is your 2 seed. Your 2 section champs. Jermichael Finley is your 3 seed. Ethan Sharkey is your 4 seed. Again, they were your runners up last weekend. I don't want to discount anybody below, but Caldwell Bell they seem a little bit different than everybody else. Is that how you see it, or do you see it differently?
No, that's exactly how I was going to say it. I think that's going to be one of the better state finals matches is between those 2 guys. And that's like we say, that's never to discount Finley or Sharkey, but I definitely see the Caldwell Bell being in the finals. If I had to pick one right now, I'm probably going to go Caldwell. Bell is no slouch, but I'm probably going to have to pick Caldwell over Bell.
All right. So jumping to 138, your top seed is Evan Phillips, who I think I wrote this in the sectionals. He wasn't seated very high at sectionals, and I didn't understand why. And I'm thinking to myself, why is Evan Phillips not seated as high as I think he should be? Anyway, he won the North. It didn't matter. Mooney won the South. You've got again other groups of wrestlers within that weight class. But Phillips, I don't know. I mean, maybe I don't know something that's going on, but he just seems like he is the man to beat at 138 pounds.
No, he definitely is the man to beat. I was surprised. I actually had a coach come up to me and ask me if I knew something because they were very surprised that they had Noseville seated higher than Phillips, but it didn't really matter for Phillips. Phillips came in, kicked butt, and took that sectional title. And I think he's going to probably be the one to win the state title this upcoming Saturday.
Yeah, no, I mean, I guess, the thing is that like there are coaches that say you just got to go out and beat everybody and it doesn't matter. And from an individual perspective, that completely makes sense. But seeding, especially when we get to the team race, it can be huge because you get points not only for your kids who win, but if a kid gets seeded wrong and you get somebody tough in the first round and then like wins 2 matches and then loses on the backside, they're out of the tournament and may not place where they maybe deserve placement points. So I think that's my thing is, that's why seeding is so very important. Anyway, jump into 145. Your top seed is Brody Mizell from St. Clair County. Your 2 seed is Carson Thomas from Elmore County. Josh Draskovic from Scottsboro is your 3 seed. Colton Sullivan is your 4 seed. But again, if you have been around Alabama wrestling for the last handful of years or whatever, the name Mizell. Sure seems like he is the favorite.
No, he's definitely my pick. I think he dropped an early match to Draskovic.
That's right.
His third match, it was 4-2. But Mizell made his adjustments, came out and stuck him in the second. So I think he did what he needed to do. Only has that 1 loss on the season. He was up 8-1 when it happened. So, like I said, when you have those early matches, as somebody who competed, I remember dropping 1 or 2 matches early in the season because you're still kicking off some of that rust. And it really. That's when it comes to sectionals. It's supposed to be a better gauge of what happened. And a great example would be Weststone and Griggs. It was an early match. Weststone took it 11-8, but then this weekend it was 12-2 in favor of Griggs. And I know we'll talk about them when we get to 6A, but it really that part of the season is good to get people started. Good to see some good competition, but I wouldn't let the beginning of the season gauge it in any way, and I think these guys are showing that.
All right, so jump into 152, a good weight class. I really like to watch Bentley Briscoe wrestle from Hayden. He is your 1 seed. He's unbeaten on the year. Christian McCary is super solid as a 2 seed. Won the South. Got Skylar Gomer, Aiden Goggins. Again, some really good wrestlers in the weight. But I think it's probably a clash between Briscoe and McCary, unless you see it differently.
No, I see it that way. I mean, if they had put Goggins on the same side as McCary, I might see Goggins pushing through to make the finals. But as of right now, I think we're going to see a McCary Briscoe, and I definitely see Briscoe coming out on top.
Well, and this might be where, at least I don't know if they saw each other last weekend, but Goggins did take 3rd, Gomer did take 2nd. So at least in terms of how they finished, that makes sense, right?
Oh, yeah. And he beat him 8-5, but
so
I definitely Goggins. I feel like is probably the better
matchup,
better wrestler.
Yeah. Well, and matchups matter, also. All right, so jump into 160 pounds. Josh Rowe, again, if you've been around Alabama wrestling, particularly ARAB, the Rows. He is your 1 seed, took 1st in the North. Ansel Goggins took 2nd in the North. He's your 2 seed. Brady Goodwin, who you mentioned, I don't know if that was in the intro or if that was in our part here, but you talked about him earlier. So some good wrestlers at 160 pounds, led by Josh Rowe.
As of right now, I would say that probably Josh Rowe is the favorite. But the reason I brought them up a while ago is because it's 2 seniors that I think Goodwin makes the finals. And it's 2 seniors going after a state title. Neither of them have. Rowe has made the finals. I'm not sure if it's once or twice, but he's made the finals. Goodwin beat Shook in the sectional finals. Goggins is really good, and I think it'll be a really tight one between Goodwin and Goggins. But I honestly think Rowe's probably gonna take it.
All right, so jump into 170. Another weight class I think is is good as far as depth goes, but I do definitely see a separation between Cole Sykes, who is the 1 seed, Evan Scrivener, who is the 2 seed, who, again, I didn't understand the seeding last week for Scrivener, who ended up coming through and taking the North title. And then you've got McGill, who is the 3 seed, who took 3rd in the section ahead of Luke Horsley, who is the 4 seed from Jasper, who was 2nd. I don't know if McGill and Horsley wrestled one another. Kind of feels like the 2 of them should flip, but regardless, I think Sykes and Scrivener are kind of above. Your thoughts?
I would say so. I definitely think though that that Sykes is going to walk through it. Like I don't think it'll be a close finals match. I know he's 11-1, but you know he real dominant. Lost to a really tough Jaden New, and it wasn't a blowout either. It was a really tough match. You know, Sykes is a really good wrestler, but I don't see Scrivener coming really close to Sykes. I think Sykes will pretty much take this 5A title.
All right, so jumping to 182. Patrick Lawler is your number 1 seed from ARAB. He has been on the podium a bunch for ARAB. I don't know that he's ever claimed the title though. Somebody would have to correct me or not. Kane Griffith is your 2 seed. And he was 2nd in the South. Is that what you have? Caden Griffith is 2 seed?
I have Griffith as my 2. Yeah, he's my 2.
And he took 2nd in the South. And your champ in the South, Landon Everett, is the 6th seed.
Oh, that's awesome. No, I mean, I think we talked about it earlier. I think some of these weights still have to get mixed up a little bit because Everett should have the higher seed unless Summers and Walters both beat him and we just didn't catch it. And then maybe I could see where it all pans out. And then if Griffith has all 3 wins over them, but Everett's 3 losses come from 2 of those guys, I could see that's the only way I could see it being the way that it should be.
Yeah, for me, it's what you just said though, is that your most recent wins and your sectional is your most recent thing. So winning a sectional title has got to get you like at least a top 2 or the 3, maybe 4 seed. I mean, 5 seed. At the very least, you're a 5 seed, right? If everybody else from the North, it doesn't matter. So as you think about it, who's our favorite, or who is going to take the title at 182 pounds?
Although I think Lawler's a little tiny for 182, I definitely see him being the champ of that weight.
He does seem a little small for that. I agree with you.
I think it was more of a Arab trying to fill the roster to get the title, and they figure that's his best spot for the team.
I agree. All right, 195. Your number 1 seed, I think, is returning state champion, and Cole Carter for Jasper. Lucas Salcedo is your 2 seed. He took the South. Connor Knighton, Hunter Scott, some good wrestlers at the weight, but I don't think anybody's been close to Cole Carter.
No, not the Fargo A that Cole Carter is. I think he also was he was a national champ with the, I don't think it's postseason nationals, but there was one up in Iowa that he won. No, I don't think it is. You know, he kind of came out of nowhere last year. It was the one, ended up beating a tough opponent from Opelika in the finals, and nobody's really gotten near him except I think his sole loss actually comes from Hunter Jones, if I'm not mistaken.
I think that's right.
I think it's Hunter Jones is given a lot of it's Seth Branham from Pelham.
Seth Branham, that's right.
Okay.
Who it's nice to see back, you know.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I was. I think he wanted to focus on football, but I'm glad that he decided for senior year he was going to come back and wrestle for the Panthers.
Yeah.
Cole Carter is probably my favorite to take 195.
All right, jumping up to 220. You've got Buckhorn transfer, Will Kinnear from AWF, who is a returning state champ, but at a different school. Jacob Clark is your South champ. He is your number 2 seed. Logan Hall, and again, the rest of your 8. But I mean, again, you don't know a whole lot of names in the state of Alabama necessarily. You probably know the name Will Kinnear.
Yeah, Will Kinnear is probably gonna do the same thing that Cole Carter's gonna do. Probably gonna waltz through this 5A tournament. I don't think anybody's probably close. I will be interested to see the Hall Clark matchup to see who does take, assuming the seeds pan out and they wrestle in the semis. I think that'll be a good match. Paul hasn't really been a well-known name in high school. I remember him wrestling junior high. No, God knows how many years ago that was. Because he was like probably 6'2" as an 8th grader. Like he was really tall. So like he kind of stood out a little bit.
I would think so.
But him and Clark will be a good match. If I had to pick one there, I think Clark's probably going to make the finals, but I don't think anybody's going to take that title from Will Kinnear.
All right, so let's now jump to the 285s. You've got Sam Shepker from Gulf Shores, who comes in as your 1 seed. Christopher Irely of Elmore County is your 2 seed. He took second to Shepker down there in the South. Really good Colin Langley is your 3 seed. You've got some other good wrestlers down through the group. Stogner is in there as the 5 seed, so on and so forth. Do you think this is Shepker's to win or to lose, or do you? I mean, this is a pretty good weight.
That's really tough. Honestly, in my genuine thoughts, I think Langley's gonna win it.
Okay.
I think he got. I don't know if he placed at 220 or heavyweight last year. I think it was heavyweight. I think it
was heavyweight.
I think he placed 4th or 3rd at heavyweight. Had a great run on the backside. I think that he's probably my pick to.
He took
to win
3rd.
it.
He took 3rd.
3rd at heavyweight, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
So 3rd at heavyweight. Like I said, I think he's probably going to win it. Now I think if we're going to talk about a dark horse, it's probably Stonger from Shelby County, somebody who's been knocking on the door for quite some time, but hasn't really connected all the dots. So I'll be interested. You know, he probably has the tools to do what he needs to do, but I don't know if he'll be able to perform
to pull it off,
to create some upsets.
All right, so let's do the teams just really quick. Gulf Shores, man, they brought the bus. They brought everybody. 14, right? So they do only bring 1 champ and 1 runner-up. Lots of 5ths, lots of 7ths, lots of 8ths, those sorts of things. Tallahassee brings, I think I have 5 runners-up. Did Lambell not win? I thought Lambell won.
No, he's the 2.
He was a 2? Okay. Jasper, who won your duels, has 9. AWF has 8, but with 4 champs. Does Gulf Shores, based on numbers alone, win it? Or do you think that one of the teams chasing, say a Jasper, an AWF, a Scottsboro, one of them can overcome those numbers and take the title?
Yeah, I know that Coach Shaw will probably be mad at me for saying this, but I gotta put my money with the AWF Knights to take the team title.
Well, I mean, four champs, and if all 4 of those section champs win, that's a lot of points.
Exactly. Like I think that's where it's gonna be. I think if those 4 champs claim the 4, and I think it will be. I mean, we'll see.
I mean, we've got Silva, Rowe, Lawler. I mean, who was the other champ?
Rowe.
No, Rowe. Who was the other one? Rowe, Lawler,
Silver,
Kinnear. Oh, right.
So, and I think we talked about those weights, and I think those are 4
Yep.
20 kids. That's 80 points right there in your 4 alone. And I think that you could see some of the Arab kids outplace their seed pretty well. So,
all right. So you heard it from Jaxon. All of you Gulf Shores people down there, make sure that you drop him a line, SEWrestle on Instagram. Let him know what you think. He'll be more than happy to take your direct messages. Jaxon, thanks for taking the time, man. Talking about 5A, and yeah, it's gonna be a great weekend.
oh yeah, I'm excited.
All right, man. You take care.
Appreciate it.